Papa, Fobo, I was a great man. Iranya Makemi, Go Fundarake, Great Mamem, for the tension. Equami, Guami, of ye. That's it to you. Don't get on okay. Go for me, young awoke. Come on, everything go. Abasike Sese, Abasurium Fier. So all the great men who have done one thing or the other for this nation, you are legends. Can you join me now? Sending children go school, she legend. God bless her. That papa, where they sell newspaper, take feed the family. In the legend. God bless you. That good man, where bring out the money, send people go school. In the legend. God bless you. Hi, that person, where they carry poor man for up, where make him stand. Hi, in the legend. You are a living legend. You are living legend. That now why I sing this song for you, for you, for you. I sing it on my legend. I sing it on my legend. I sing it on my legend. I sing it on my legend.
State has a population of over 3 million people in 31 local government areas. It is currently the 10th largest state in Nigeria in terms of land mass, playing host to various large multinationals exploring its rich mineral deposits. Godswill Akpabio is the 9th governor of the state. Known for his uncommon transformation, Governor Akpabio's leadership, now in its final year, has embarked on many ambitious projects. These large-scale infrastructural developmental projects are spread across the length and breadth of the state.
Uncommon transformation, it depends on the way you do it. For a 9-year-old child, it may see the physical infrastructure. But for me as a governor, I see the change in the steps and the movement of my people. I watch them and I see the confidence. We rekindle confidence through good governance. And we have opened the educational system up to all Nigerian children who are resident here. So it is not something that is, that has segregation. No. So we believe that if you educate your children, as you educate your neighbor's children, you are preparing handovers to assign your graduate children in future. And so it's for the free medical services is open to all children from day 1 to the age of 5, irrespective of your tribe, irrespective of your ethnic group, irrespective of your state of origin. The same thing for the educational system. And we pay NECO and WAEC fees for them. So education is totally free from primary school all the way to senior secondary school. And we have done it. We are celebrating the 6th year.
After 8 years in office, these will be referred to as the legacy of Governor Godswill Obot Akpabio.
All right, many thanks. And you were privileged to, go to Akwa Ibom State with you a couple of months back, and that's when I got a glimpse of, what has been talked about, transformation. But you are synonymous with uncommon transformation. When that is talked about, one person comes to mind, and that's you, Your Excellency. But it does precede your administration.
Not necessarily. But thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be here. Uncommon transformation, yes, in a way, it does precede my administration, in the sense that the state was created before my administration. The Akwa Ibom was actually created in 1987, and I started my administration in 2007. And it was our own phrase. What actually happened was that we had certain things that changed, which people never thought were possible. And I think it started from a small road of 1 kilometer, which was named after the first cardinal in West Africa, Cardinal Ekanem. And that road was Isinikot-Ekpene, one of my local government areas. That was the experimental local government for the West African colonial masters. And so for over 39 years, no vehicle could pass from one end to the other. The owners of the road reclaimed the road. And some people even had plantation. They planted all sorts of things along the road. And so when we came on board and we decided to intervene in most of the urban roads in the state, we've done well over 300 urban roads across the state. So that particular road, when we passed through it from one end to the other, something that we never thought was possible in 39 years. Well, the Catholic Church that is located there said dry bones have risen again. But the people said this is uncommon transformation. And so, and then also there is another particular one that is very dear to our heart. We call it Usei Koramama. It goes all the way to Ibiano, the footbelts of the state. And it was a tortuous road for any human being wishing to visit that local government. In fact, some of the, indigents of that area who migrated to Lagos, sometimes they stay 10, 15 years without going home because of the poor road. And so when we intervened also, for them, that was uncommon. They never thought it was possible for government to come there. Then the most pathetic situation occurred in a 56-kilometer road with a bridge, which we call Etimekpo, all the way going to Iwukem. Iwukem is within Abia State. And this one, they had a barely bridge. And that barely bridge collapsed as far back as 1969, just before the Nigerian Civil War ended. And so people found it difficult to cross from one end to the other. So we had one local government, Kolika, immediately after Etimekpo, that was cut off from civilization. The result was that for you to access the rest of Akwa Ibom, you have to pass through Abia State. You have to go through Aba, and then from Aba you pass all the way down to Ikotebene to come and visit your kith and kin, a distance of less than 20 kilometers. So we intervened in the 56 kilometers, completed with the road with a bridge, and today it's a major thoroughfare. And then the day the president commissioned it, 4 hours after, women were still sitting on the road and crying.
You know why I asked you this question? Because I want to believe that what you had done in Akwa Ibom State, emanated from your concept of leadership. So we'd just like you to share with us what your beliefs are about leadership, your principles of leadership.
Well, let's put it this way. Leadership is the way you perceive it. For me, as I'm a beneficiary of good governance in my state, I was a victim of the decayed infrastructure that I met on ground. I come from a village that is sedentary, and the road passes between Omohia, crosses my village and goes all the way to Port Harcourt. So for 29 years, I could not take a vehicle to my village. And so today, that I can drive to my village from Uyo all the way without seeing a pothole. I'm just giving you an example. And therefore, I'm a beneficiary of good governance. And so when I came to Akwa Ibom, I came to Akwa Ibom in 2007 with a little bit of anger. Anger in the sense that I was in a hurry to show that things can be done. In fact, when we go around now, we say so government can work. There was a general perception in the Niger Delta. Oh, so much money goes to the Niger Delta region, but so little is seen on the ground. So when we came, a lot of us just came together, youth, just young people, very determined to change the things and just bring out a new paradigm in terms of leadership. And so by the time we were through, in less than 2 years, the people now started shouting that this is uncommon transformation. Don't forget that at the federal level, we have transformation agenda that is going on. And so we have internalized the transformation agenda, Mr. President, and ours is it's a special phrase that we use in Akwa Ibom to describe what we are seeing, the monumental achievements that God has made possible through this administration.
Well, Your Excellency, you've already referred to the anger that you brought to governance when you assumed power. But let's back up a bit and look at the public imagination. The common man often will say, our leaders go abroad and they see all these fine things and happy people. How come we are unable to replicate such things back home in our country? So I ask the question, what in your opinion is missing or lacking in our leadership matrix?
That's exactly what you have just said. Our leaders go abroad and they line up right from the airport to get their passport stamped. They don't struggle. But when you come to Nigeria, no leader wants to line up. In fact, you have instances where if you are a governor and you are moving with your wife, a supposed stakeholder in Nigeria will use his elbow and edge your wife out of the line so that he can move forward because he's in a hurry. But when he gets to Britain or America, he's no longer in a hurry. That's the first thing. And then they go around and they see flyovers. They see water fountains. They see serene environment. They see a beautiful landscape. They see an orderly society. And they come back here and they don't replicate that. And so for me, I used to think something was missing. And that thing was missing was the fact that I used to ask questions, what do our leaders see when they go outside? And so when I had the opportunity to be a leader, I decided not to moan. So I'm one of those governors in the last 7 years that you will never hear will go on television or go down to sit down and discuss with the media and start moaning. I will not moan. Rather, I want you to come and see what I've done. I prefer people to come and see what I've done. That's what I keep saying. Because now I'm a leader. So I can no longer say, oh, leaders are corrupt, this is happening, that is happening. I want to be judged by my own actions. And I think if we start like that in all states of the Federation, where you bring in committed people who have love for the people, who have passion, and who are dedicated, and who are very determined to change things for the better, I think the entire country will change. But I think things are changing for the better. That's what we can see in democracy. And don't forget that this thing starts right from the day of election. And so if you know the history of my emergence as governor of Akwa Ibom State, then you know that this is the history of the struggle of the people. And therefore the achievements so far made in 7 years cannot be ascribed to me. It has to be ascribed to the whole people of Akwa Ibom State, who stood by me and who stood on the road for 5 days and insisted that God's will must be done in Akwa Ibom State.
What lessons can persons aspiring to your position, not necessarily in Akwa Ibom, but elsewhere in the country, what critical lessons should they learn from you?
Well, simple. First, the first thing you have to do is to know that all things are possible only with God. We hand over the administration to God when we came in. We have a solemn assembly every year where we hand over all our intentions to God. We end the year by heralding the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ and celebrating God in a spectacular manner by organizing the largest assembly of choristers all over the world. 9,999 children across the entire state unity choir singing to praise God, to say thank you, God, for keeping us alive for another 1 year. That's the first thing. So you bring God into governance. The second aspect of it is for you to realize that you have to leave a legacy behind. And so you go into governance not to move your pocket forward, but to move the society forward. And you have to try your best to be impervious of criticisms. Because when you are trying to change things, definitely you are going to step on some toes. Don't forget that the idea of Nigeria, in fact, if we have to be honest, when I came on board in 2007, if you go to certain states in the Federation and you shout PDP, which is the ruling party that I belong to, people will say, share the money. PDP, share the money. And it was happening even in ACN. It was happening in other political parties. And because the people believe that the money ought to be shared. And so I decided that no, the money will not be shared. Let us first lay the foundation for the growth of the society, the industrial growth of the society. Let's lay the foundation that can attract investment. Because if you look at it very well, you should ask yourself, what is it that takes us to the desert? 17, 20 years ago, a place like Dubai was a complete desert. The temperature sometimes gets to 59 degrees centigrade. But they have a population of just 400,000. And they have up to 51 million visitors a year. What is attracting us to that place? Just like bees are attracted to the honey. All over the world, people are attracted to good governance and infrastructure. And I think if anybody comes into government and the person realizes that the first thing you have to do is to lay the basic foundation. Forget about moving your pocket forward. Move the society forward. Put the infrastructure on ground, and all other things shall be added unto you. I mean, I'm sorry, I keep referring to the Bible. I'm a Christian. And so the Bible teaches us that when you seek first the kingdom of God, every other thing will be added unto you. So in governance, the lesson you must learn is that if you go first for the legacy projects, and then go out there with a determination to show love to your people, don't go and do politically motivated roads where you put up asphalt in a rain belt in the Niger Delta, and then you put on asphalt on top of satellite lateral sand, and 6 months later the road starts smiling. Build infrastructure that can last, not the one they will hell you, and you walk out of there and it's totally wasted money. And that was what was happening in many states of the Federation. People were not doing quality things. People didn't believe that granite could be put in government offices. They were looking for, they have to look for tires. Granite should be in their personal homes. Whereas government should show example. The people should come to government and learn from government, because government is next to God. I'm saying that because just like we have hope in God, people should have hope in government and believe that yes, where their efforts stop is where the government effort begins. Just like we know that where our abilities stop is where the power of God takes over for us. So this is the situation. I think people should come into government with a determination to move the society forward, to change things for the better, and to lay the right foundation for investment to come. Yep. I'll give you an example. If you look at Akpabio, say for instance, when I came in 2007, for the first 2 years, I was traversing between Calabar, Port Harcourt and Owerri to travel to Abuja or to travel to Lagos. So if you don't create access to the state, how do you expect investors to come? And that time was the period of militancy. So if you go out there and do seminars in London and spend hundreds of millions of naira trying to attract people, and at the end they have no access to get to your state, are you sure anybody will come? That will be wasted money. And so government can get busy, doing seminars for cadre riders, for councillors' wives, and for this. And every day you see permanent secretaries and directors struggling. It's the same money that's going. But that same money could have built 1-2 kilometers of road. It could have changed the lives of children. And it depends on your perception. Another good example is education. If you came into Lagos or Abuja, almost all the children selling groundnut on the road and newspapers were Ekaite and Akpan. And also, as a governor, am I going to start telling my people don't sell groundnut and do not sell newspaper? No. I have to look at the foundation.
Talking about Ekaite and Akpan now, yes, reminds me of this situation. In the Akwa Ibom used to be, a state reputed, to be where people looking for domestic helps, like of course cooks and all that, yes, used to turn to, in search for this category of manpower. Have you been able to adequately address that?
That's why I said it's not against the law for you to do that. We have signed what we call a child rights law. We signed the bill into law that prohibits the slavery or the enslavement of children, and then of course that law makes basic education compulsory for the Akwa Ibom child, and in fact for any Nigerian child who is resident in Akwa Ibom State, because the basis of all these house help, all these things the basis was lack of education. And so people felt, oh, send my children to Lagos, probably the housemaster or the person who wants the child will send the child to school. But most times they never send them to school. Experience has shown me that most of the children were used as child prostitutes in places like Gabon and some other places outside Nigeria. Because when I declared the free and compulsory education in my state 6 years ago, and they came home today, I have 750 children in a center in Uyo that I'm taking care of. And some of them at the age of 11 came back with 9-year-old children, 9-year-old kids. A child at the age of 11, you can imagine a child having a child. That means that they deceived the parents, took the kids out to Congo, pushed them into child prostitution, and of course they got pregnant, delivered kids. When they heard of the education, they came back. And some as orphans, my wife is taking care of them. So it's a pathetic situation. And what was happening was because of what? Lack of education. And in some instances, of course, I don't want to go too deep into Nigerian history, where the country had a different policy, where leaders must praise others down when they get into power. And when in doing so, Nigeria stayed down. Because if you have to press somebody down on the ground, you yourself must stay down. So when somebody comes from a particular ethnic group, he wants to ensure that only his ethnic group rises. And in the course of trying to press others down, the whole country stayed down. That was what was happening to Akwa Ibom. So we have nobody to speak for us at the national level. So our people had no option than to become an industry for house helps and houseboys. But today, it has changed now. You just step out of here.
Has there been any conviction?
Well, as of now, a few people have been charged to court for trying to stop kids from going to school. But we have what we call special assistance on education monitoring. And they go around the state during school hours, and I can tell you, you won't see a single kid, whether the child is from Akwa Ibom or not, that is walking on the street. And then many of them who heard about the free education came back. We had difficulties because some people who never had education at the age of 25 decided to go back to primary school. So you can imagine a 25-year-old man who was an Okada rider now sitting side by side with a 9-year-old child in the primary school. I said, the governor said, I must have education. Because the governor said he must have education. So we didn't bargain for some of the mix that we had to grapple with. But I can tell you that the policy has worked. Today, with a population of less than 5 million, we have about 1.9 million children in the basic education level. And I know that most of them are not really from Akwa Ibom. So, but I'm excited to be of assistance to Nigeria. That's why I keep saying that if you educate your children and you don't educate your neighbor's children, you are preparing armed robbers to attack your graduate children. So that policy is working. And so you will no longer see an Ekaite or an Akpan coming as a house help or something. That has gone. We have handed over that industry to other Africans. And so I'm preparing now major graduates in future, chefs. I'm preparing managers to come and join you in NTA and other establishment in the country, to run the country and to contribute their quota, not as gate men and not as drivers.
Well, Your Excellency, it's important that you have elaborated on this critical aspect of human capital development as a major plank of your administration. But how much community support have you received in this effort? Because alongside the giant strides that you have just articulated, the problem of child witchcraft appears to persist.
Yeah, well, that was also perception.
Yes.
It's not going to be easy for you to totally eliminate crime, because any abuse to a child is criminal. So, I had the occasion to appear on CNN on this issue when somebody came and did a film that was meant to generate funds for himself and not necessarily for the kids in my state. What has happened is the fact that it depends on the level of education. In the 16th century, you had this problem in the United Kingdom, where you used to hear of the witch of Endor and all those things.
Sorcerers.
And yes, and sorcerers, and sometimes they even burnt reverend sisters, burnt reverend fathers. A lot of things happened. It was a level of education. So we are fighting that with education. Education, education, education. And I can tell you that today we also have a law that makes it a criminal offense for you to stigmatize a child and tell a child that you're a witch or a wizard. And so it carries up to 10 years imprisonment. And we did not only do that, we followed up with the prosecution. Many people are being prosecuted as I speak with you now. And then the law also allows us to close down certain churches that have these practices. Because some of them are not really churches, they are fake spiritual homes. That when children come, they now come and deceive the parents, and then from there they will collect money and say they want to exorcise the child, that the child is, the witchcraft inside the child, we want to bring it out, and to do that, 300,000 per child. And so it was also a means of making money, which I can call 419 within the church community. And then sometimes when the parents have no money to pay, they throw a child out of the house. A man that is drunk comes back home and says, because of my child, I'm drunk, when he loves the bottle. So this was what was happening, and children were just being stigmatized. It wasn't only in Akwa Ibom said. It's across West Africa, by the way, that kind of practice. And I know that it's a level of education. And that is why I decided to tackle education first before going into that, and also ensuring that we make a legislation that not only abolishes it, but also makes it a criminal offense for anybody to stigmatize a child. And I can tell you that we have reduced it to the barest minimum today.
Okay, Your Excellency, let's look at poverty alleviation and eradication. At the national level, efforts by government is visible, but it's still a big challenge at the state level. And particularly for the states, the oil-producing states, the argument is always that the allocation, federal allocation in this part of the country is not usually commensurate with, what we see on ground. And so poverty persists. How do you respond to that?
You can't wipe out poverty in a hurry. And then what we are using at the state level is maybe 0.001% of what you might call federal allocation. All the states of the federation, the 36 states of the federation, what we share on a monthly basis is not more than 26%. I know, but I'm giving you the statistics, because what people are saying outside is different. Some people will tell you Akwa Ibom collects 30 billion, 40 billion. I've never seen such money. And I know that if you come to my state, what you will see on ground, you'll be pitying me. You wonder and say, oh, this governor is taking on so much. Where will he get the money to pay for these things? So in terms of poverty alleviation, we are not just doing the gigantic projects and then leaving behind the low-hanging fruits. We are not doing things that will not touch the lives of the people. While we are creating the major infrastructure that will drive industrialization in future, we are also looking at developing the humans, developing the human capital development. What we have done, we have what we call integrated farmer scheme, a scheme that is targeted at graduates. We bring in hundreds and hundreds of graduates and train them, and at the end we give them 500,000 microcredit finance, somehow without interest, for them to engage in agriculture. And so they go into rabbitry, they go into poultry, they go into small farms and all that. And we've had a lot of community support in that direction. So thousands of youths have been developed through that. And then we now targeted the women. We have what we call WADEP, Women in Agriculture Development Program. And this one we do in thousands. We first said we started about 4,500 women. Fantastic project where women at the end of their training in agriculture are given small grants of 250,000 naira to buy seedlings, and then ensure, because any society that is not sufficient in food production cannot boast of greatness. And outside that, we have engaged the citizenry within our contract framework. And what we did is what we call inter-ministerial direct labor coordinating jobs. So where we bring out jobs in hundreds of millions of naira and then farm them out, 5 million, 7 million, give an instance, maybe building of classroom blocks, renovation of this, and electrification jobs that are not very cumbersome and very, very strenuous. We give those things to the public, and then those are means of empowerment. And then my wife has what she calls Green Brigade, where she brings the women together in their thousands, and then gives them uniform, and then they go on the streets and then clean the streets of Uyo, because cleanliness is next to wealth, and of course health is wealth. And then so those women are also empowered with 20,000 naira each, and we have hundreds of women in their thousands who are engaged in this. And so we are very mindful of the need to engage our people in agriculture, and that's why we have various schemes, microcredit schemes. We even won an award last year from the Central Bank of Nigeria. So it's something that you need to come and look at. And these things sometimes are never reported, because in Nigeria we believe that bad news is good news. It's good news for the press. So nothing good that is good really gets on the pages of newspapers, except the sensational headlines, or where you hear so arrested or so loot, or that kind of thing. So, but we are doing a lot in that direction.
Let's return again to the question of leadership. I have been to Akwa Ibom, and therefore I'm a witness to the uncommon transformation that you are spearheading.
Thank you.
But overall, in the last 15 years since the advent of the Fourth Republic, the local government system has been an albatross. So here you are, Your Excellency, really now to your accomplishments. It is doubtful if any one or two local governments in Akwa Ibom can similarly boast or brag about what they have achieved. So much so that, of course, for different reasons as well, the National Conference recommended that the local government should not be a federating unit. Let states handle local governments. But the fear is that local governments will be further emasculated by the state governments. Why is it that local governments apparently have failed in the current dispensation?
Well, nationally, you may say that if you assess local governments that they may have failed. But in Akwa Ibom said, I can tell you that the uncommon transformation is like Ebola, very infectious.
Ebola?
Sorry, not totally like Ebola. But I'm trying to say it's quite infectious.
Infectious, that's
correct. So to be honest with you, if you come to my state, you'll be amazed with what local governments are doing. I would like you to set up a small team, and that team should be to visit the states and do an assessment of what the local governments have done. I would not want to speak more on that. But I've gone to see gigantic projects in local governments. I've gone to see farms that are done by local governments, cassava plantations. I've gone to see administrative blocks. I've gone to see major town halls. I've gone to see community halls. I've gone to see potable water boreholes that are done by local governments in my state. And because that is one state that we don't interfere at all in the joint account of the state. And they've done tremendously well. Sometimes I commission projects in local governments and I get amazed. If you come to my local government, for instance, my local government chairman brought a picture to me that I must commission the new administrative office. Fantastic place. I went to a place like Ore from Oruko. In fact, in 2 or 3 local governments, out of excitement, I had to make donations of 50 million each to the local governments because of what I saw on ground. So I think it's a perception you have. But I think this thing is all about leadership. It's all about leadership. I think it's just like the fish. It starts from the head to rotten. So what has happened here is that because the leader has shown direction, every single person that has a little office wants to do something uncommon in order to show, yes, indeed, I'm making a contribution to the uncommon transformation. So why you think local government has failed in Nigeria? In Akwa Ibom said, I tell you, it's a success story. And I don't want just to say so. I want you to empanel a team and send them to my state, and you'll be amazed at what is going on.
Well, again, still on the question of leadership, how sustainable is the uncommon transformation? By May next year, you'll be out of office.
Well, that's the aspect that we leave to God. Because what has happened in Nigeria in the past has been that, yes, various governments made various efforts. And at the end, maybe the people who are coming will not sustain. I did not do so. When I came, even some of the projects I did in my state were started by previous administrations. I came up and I completed them. Somewhere in terms of roads, even the international airport was not started by me. The Ibom power plant was not started by me. The only one I can say is that I now made a contribution. I partnered with a company from United Kingdom, and we did the first PPP in the gas sector, which Mr. President commissioned a few days ago. And of course, that gas processing plant is the first of its kind, producing over 200 million TCF of gas. And then now Ibom Power now has 69 kilometers of gas pipeline, and then we are now trying to also supply to the NIPP in Calabar. Major intervention in the gas sector, because before then it was difficult to just depend on the Nigerian gas company. And then what happened was in 2008, Aluminium Smelter Company came up and said they were about to leave the state. And I said, why? They said they didn't have enough gas to turn their turbines. So I did an assessment, and I realized that the problem of Nigeria in the next 5 years will not be the building of turbines, but it will be the availability of gas. So I had to look for any investor that was interested, and of course I had to encourage that investor. So I made a deposit to buy gas from them for 10 years. I signed an agreement as an off-taker to buy gas from them for 10 years, subsidize it, and then give it to the end user. So we were able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. One was that we were able to check the idea of gas flaring, and at the same time we were able to give domesticated gas to our people and also create employment opportunities. And today it is being celebrated within the oil industry. And so it's something that when you talk about sustainability, you have to look at the people, because it starts from election. If you bring out people that have the love of the people, people that are passionate about development, people that are interested in things working, you come into you and you will not see a single street light that is dead. Okay. We have street light numbers. You come into my state and you drive for 50 to 60 kilometers without seeing a pothole. It is not magic. It is determination. It is work. That is work in progress. And therefore, anybody who comes, my people already have a template of expectations. So I can tell you that if you don't fit into the template of expectations, then you will be in trouble. It's not compulsory that a governor does 2 tenures.
Your Excellency, there's so much to talk about Akwa Ibom State, but I know this question will come to you as the chair, but the bill for the amendment of the pension law for governors and deputies, submitted by you very self, Your Excellency, generated a lot of public discourse and controversy, so much so that you had to withdraw that bill. And you were highly commended for that action. Any regrets?
No.
Any regrets?
No regrets at all. You see, what is happening in Nigeria is that the fever of 2015 is catching up with all Nigerians. So every action, even your steps, must be politicized. You have to be careful the way you walk. Otherwise, people will politicize it and read meanings into it according to 2015. And I have I have the greatest number of critics across Nigeria, at least from my state, because we came from Cross-River State, where we were known as petition writers after, I think, Ondo. And so when they did asset sharing, the immovable properties were left in Calabar. The movable properties like petition writers were shared, and they brought them to my state. And so a lot of them ended up in Akwa Ibom. You don't need to even commit any offense. All you need to do is they just tell the person who wants to write the petition your name. They give the name of the person, and that's it. The petition is done. He has finished. And if you read it, you will think the person is guilty. This is the problem. So when we did a bill, which the House of Assembly did, it was because of the local circumstances. We had a bill that was open-ended and said free medical treatment we had a law, free medical treatment for governors, deputies, and their spouses. And of course, that means that when they say free, it's free. So if, for instance, you charter a plane to take your wife to London or to travel to London, you charter a plane, it's free, isn't it? And so the cost of the charter will be given to government, and the cost of treatment. And sometimes some people even speculate. They can come in front of you and then give you a bill of 39 million. They are going for medical treatment. And I have never seen it because I've gone abroad. I've never spent more than $2,000, except where they say an operation on anything. So I haven't submitted any single bill to government on medical. So, but when you see this, and then at one go, maybe a former deputy, for instance, and a former deputy's wife, they come in, the wife is going for medical treatment, 25 million. The husband is going 29 million. When you look at it, that's 50-something million. So what the bill tried to do was to try to limit the amount that any family can spend in a year, and then to put a ceiling. And so when you hear 100 million, it was meant to be 50 million for the spouse and 50 million for the man at most, and not to be paid to them. A small medical board will assess the bill before the bill is paid, so they may not even assess it in a year. Because I've also had instances where I have some former deputies and their spouses who have not spent up to 10 million naira in a year. So, but you also have others who have spent well over 120-something million in a year. So the bill said for a former deputy, 25 million at most for the wife and 25 million at most for the husband, not to be given to them, but the amount that the state can spend in the event of medical emergency. And then for the former governor, 50 million for the governor and 50 million for the wife, not to be given to them, but to be spent in the event of emergency. The maximum the state will be liable. But the people misunderstood it. They now lumped it together and said, oh, this 100 million a year is meant to be given to the governor. It's going to be given to him every year. Some people on the internet say, oh, he must have this debilitating disease that he wants to cure after he leaves office. And then, of course, people politicize it. And the moment he went into the political arena and meanings were read, oh, he wants to make, he wants. You had to so I said, no, let's just withdraw it. That we can have other means, maybe through instant circulars. We can set up a kind of medical team, a medical committee from the Health Management Board that will assess and scrutinize bills that are brought in that respect. And so we treat it almost like security. But we must make sure that we control it because it was done in public interest. The House of Assembly is not stupid. They were doing it in the interest of the public based on local circumstances. But it was totally misunderstood, and it was blown out of proportion, and it was, of course, it was politicized.
Well, I have two questions. They are unrelated. One is personal. The other has to do with your relationship with the federal government. Let's start with the personal one, because you've referenced in the course of our conversation this morning that a leader, potential or actual, has to put God first. You are quoted to have said when you were quite young that you would be a future governor of your state. And I wouldn't know whether it was a matter of bragging. You also were said when you were wooing your wife, that, baby, you're going to get married to the governor of a state. Was it just fantasy or you had a message?
You just said that I probably was bragging. Maybe I was looking for something to boost my ego. Because I think sometimes I talk in a way that you need to examine me whether I have malaria. Because what happened when I was 10, 12 years old, and I was in Federal Government College, Port Harcourt. I think we were in class 2, and they were asking children what they would like to be. And when it came to my turn, I just retorted. I said, I want to be a governor. And they said, what? I said, I want to be governor of my state. So I don't know why I said I wanted to be governor of my state, but I knew that I wanted to change things. And now there's a story that has not been told. When I was 5, 6 years old, I was sitting in a group of with a group of children, and they were all talking about what they wanted to be. And I was maybe 6 years old, so I started talking about what I'll build this upstairs here, I'll put street light. Then I turned to one boy there, I said, I'll build a house for you. So an old wicked uncle grabbed me, and then he dragged me into the bush, and I started crying. I said, Uncle, please, I'm not going to build the upstairs again. And of course, it was a wicked man. He said, no, I want to show you the boundaries. If you cross this place and enter here, you'll be in trouble. I said, why? He said, because people like you end up becoming what they want to be. So if you are going to build upstairs, this is the boundary of my land. Don't pass here. If you pass here, you will die. And my mother started weeping and saying, a child like this, how can a 6-year-old child become and build upstairs and then put street light and do this? So I can tell you that then the man just turned to my mom and said, is that the language of a child? How can somebody at the age of 6 start talking about what he wants to do? Street light is something for a child to do. So the same way in secondary school I said so. And when I met my wife, I actually was cracking a joke. I love jokes. Because I intend, after being a governor, I want to be a comedian. That's actually that's the next brag. That's what I'm planning. No. After the Senate, I'm going to the Senate first.
That's the next one. Are you going to, as it were, the Senate is becoming a club of ex-governors?
Which means that a lot of experience is going to be brought into the Senate. That's what you are just saying now. I didn't say
no. It's a club. It's a club, Your Excellency.
Not club. You are saying that the Senate is now going to be composed of a lot of experienced people. That people.
Including yourself if you win.
Including myself if I win.
If you win.
Who have had the experience of governance. Yes. And therefore legislation will be deepened. So I'm very happy to hear that.
Well, Claire, let's just take this last point. I mean, if you don't mind, from me, I probably you have yours. Your Excellency, you're one of the ardent supporters of President Goodluck Jonathan. And during the crisis in the Nigerian Governors Forum, I mean, you were also very prominent. Part of what occurs to me is not necessarily to ask why you are supporting President Goodluck Jonathan so ardently, but to find out why it appears so difficult for governors to be on the same wavelength. Peer review that ordinarily, I mean, look at what you're doing in Akpabio. There are other governors who are also doing well. I mean, I've had the benefit of going elsewhere. But some of the key things about development that ought to drive, our country forward, such issues are sublimated, to just plain partisan politics. Why is this so? And what's your love for President Goodluck Jonathan? Well,
the first thing is the fact that I also supported President Yar'Adua. Okay. And of course, with due respect, may so rest in peace. Even when he had challenges, there was no time I went on the pages of newspapers to abuse him. And so, when President Goodluck Jonathan emerged, I also made a commitment to support him. I believe strongly that the success of any Nigerian president is the success of Nigeria. And that means that we are bequeathing a better society for our children. I have very young kids. One of my sons is just 5 years old. So what kind of country do I want to bequeath to my child? Is it a fractured country where we are fighting our president, distracting him in a way that he cannot succeed in putting anything down for the future generation? So I think it's a perception issue. It depends on what you feel for your country. You may say, yes, I support President Jonathan, but I think I love Nigeria. I love Nigeria. And because I love Nigeria, I want President Goodluck Jonathan to succeed. If President Goodluck Jonathan succeeds, it means that Nigeria has succeeded. Right. It means that we are living a better society for our children. Then on the crisis in the Nigerian Governors Forum, I don't think it was actually a crisis. It was a function of somebody attempting to change an agreement. We said the chairmanship will be 2 years in the south and 2 years in the north. And somebody said, no, I want to elongate. And that was it. And we said, no, you cannot elongate.
I'm sorry, Excellency. I just have to interject.
No, I like you. It's good for you to interject. And like you said, he was mentioning something about why are some other governors not on the same page. They have their own ambitions.
We'll certainly have you to discuss this matter at some other time. We'll just like to thank you.
In Good Morning Nigeria, you don't discuss politics.
No, we will discuss politics.
I would like to call on all Nigerians to know that if a federal government fails, that what it means is that the states have also failed. No matter what you do in your state, a state is only a nucleus. And so it's a collective decision of all Nigerians that we should support the success of our country. And the success of our country starts with the success of our president. It is wrong for us to put a president in office and we distract the president through terrorism, through bomb blasts, through insults, through all sorts of things, until at the end of the day, if he's not focused, he will not achieve anything for Nigeria.
All right,
Your Excellency, and then what country are we going to become?
Executive Governor of Akpabio State, and of course, Chairman PDP's Governors Forum. It's been wonderful speaking with you, and we do hope to get you again here in the studio to talk more on the political aspect of this whole development. Thank you for coming, Your Excellency.
Thank you for having me, but you haven't touched it much in my state. You didn't ask me about the e-library. You didn't ask me about the other
we'll have some other time.
We'll have some more time. Your Excellency,
and I'm building the best international stadium in West Africa for you.
No,
I don't know whether you have
Your Excellency, incidentally, not necessarily for the benefit, not necessarily for all of our viewers. I was in your state last year, and I've been there as part of the National Good Governance Tour led by the Minister of Information. Okay. I did see, for instance, the international hub, international airport maintenance hub.
The MRO.
Yes, I don't know how far you've gone with that. The stadium is there, and all kinds of things they are out there. But
the international hospital.
I understand. Yes. But you see, Your Excellency, we all know that it is difficult.
At this point, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a break. We've had the Executive Governor of Akpabio State, His Excellency Godswill Akpabio, discuss, of course, issues of uncommon transformation with us. We'll take a break now.
This song is made in Akpabio. If you're a legend, this song is for you. For all the legends, all the living legends. Join me right now. Ladies and gentlemen. Hey. Come back. So all the great men who have done one thing or the other for this nation, you are legends. Can you join me now? That papa, where they sell newspaper, take feeding family in the legends. God bless you. That good man, we bring out the money, send people go am stand. In the legend. God bless you. You are a living legend. You are living legend.